Hey, how's it going, guys? Today we're going to be looking at Bioshock 2, and through this review and story analysis, I'm going to tell you why this game completely overshadows the original. But first, oh great fortune teller, please tell me, will this video be successful?
Believe me when I tell you, I wouldn't want to be in your shoes.
Damn it! Bioshock, what a game. Like I mentioned in the previous review for Bioshock 1, thank you guys so much for the support, you have been amazing. Mwah. The game defined a generation during the Xbox 360 and the PS3 era of games. But with that story having such a neatly tied bow ending, and many of the main casts that we grew to love and hate like Andrew Ryan and Frank Fontaine taking a bullet or a double bogey, how can the sequel match up? Well, many of us back in 2010 assumed we'll be going back in time for more of a prequel than sequel, to see Rapture more as it starts to fall before the climax of the Civil War between Andrew Ryan and Frank, who at this time were dick measuring to see who could piss all over Rapture back in 1960. But instead, this is a sequel through and through which continues the story 8 years after we stick it to Frank. Now, with that in mind, this game still does every beat perfectly as a sequel, and in my opinion, completely destroys the original. Like, it is superior in every way. I would go as far as to say this is the Terminator 2 of video games. I mean, the first being great, but the sequel just outright being far superior. Even as a sequel, a few years in the future, old and very dead faces still return for flavor. We get more information on Andrew Ryan, Frank Fontaine, even Jack himself, the main boy we played in Bioshock 1. Granted, most of these are through audio tapes, which is to be expected, but we do get news stories like Mark Meltzer, who through the entire game we find out through these logs that his daughter was kidnapped and taken to Rapture, so he follows suit and tries to find her. Unfortunately, eventually he does.
I found her. Found Cindy by this rusted carousel. But she was just standing there, staring, waiting for the music. And she doesn't even recognize me. What have they done to her? Listen to her.
The man in the moon is a girl, Mr. Bubbles.
Listen, if anyone hears this, I have to know how to cure her. No! Get back! She's my little girl!
Ask yourself, Mr. Meltzer, is it better to be summarily executed as an outsider caught within these grounds, or to be united not just with your daughter Cindy, but with the Rapture family as well?
I wasn't the first to find Rapture, you crazy bitch, and I won't be the last. You do whatever you want to me. As long as I'm with Cindy, I'm a happy man.
Going to put this in the Made Me Feel Something folder. Bioshock 2 did receive a standalone story DLC as well, a few months after launch, titled Minerva's Den, or My Nerva's Den? Your Nerva's Den? This is a self-contained story. I'll be discussing this after the main Bioshock 2 course as a little extra dessert, but if you want to skip your main and go straight to the sweet, jump to that section if you want to know more about the DLC. This review will be based on the 2020 remastered version of the game as well, so without further filler, let's get into the gameplay. Now this time around, we don't play as a guy that stumbles into Rapture. Or do we?
Sometimes foreshadowing is relatively obvious.
No, this time we take control of a Big Daddy. Wait, what? They took the worst part of Bioshock 1 and made it into an entire game? Actually, this is a good thing. With this change, the gameplay has been altered and is actually amazing. Now you can wield plasmids and weapons at the same time, giving way more customization on how you want to take on splicers. And being a 900-pound swole boy, you don't need to bother with puny pistols and little Tommy guns. You now have access to, well, let's be honest, repair tools. Honestly, it is better than it sounds, trust me. But first, and this is due completely to personal preference, but the borders around the screen that give the effect of you looking out of McDonald's playroom slide was very distracting. I turned that off super fast. Anyway, you start with the iconic drill that I actually slept on in this playthrough, but picked it up again later on and had instant regret. This thing is so much fun and deadly. It actually makes me very interested in doing a drill-only run sometime in the future. Next is the river gun. Primarily used to fix Rapture's many leaks. Like, I don't know how this place is still functioning, but this is the best goddamn weapon in the game. Once you get this bad boy upgraded, it will one-shot most splicers. If not, it will most likely set them on fire with a certain upgrade later on. It's so overpowered, I had to double check that I was playing on the hardest difficulty multiple times through this playthrough. We do get some similar returns with the shotgun and machine gun being very similar to the shotty and Tommy gun from Bioshock 1. There isn't too many new plasmids to play around with. Just like Bioshock 1, you'll start with the Zeus Juice plasmid, and then later pick up your telekinesis and flame on throughout story beats. Once we get past that, you do have access to pretty much all of the plasmids we had in Bioshock 1, so you know your boy got the Wasp one. Like, the Wasp plasmid is the best, it is my baby. And some plasmids now even work together. The Cyclone trap, once upgraded, can absorb any other plasmid, creating some really cool traps. And you're gonna need them. There's a lot of wave-based fighting in this game. You'll need to power these bad boys, and to do that, you're gonna need these straight out of a Korean horror movie nightmares called Little Sisters. Just like the first game, there's two ways you can go about this. You can harvest, getting a massive bump in Adam pretty quickly, or you can go the good guy route, which generates a little bit less Adam, but I mean, you can sleep at night. But also, being a big daddy, we can now adopt the little sister. Doing this allows us to go around the area collecting Adam from corpses. You have to defend the little sister while she's collecting the Adam, but this game is built more around it, so there's a lot of ulterior ammunition that tends to lead more trap-based, which is great. So before you send the little sister to work, you can prep the area, working out where the enemy's gonna come, like how you're gonna set up these traps. It's great. Once you've collected that sweet, sweet Adam juice, you have a choice to make with the little sister. Now you can free them for the good boy feels, or after making these kids work like they're in a sweatshop, you can harvest for even more Adam, and as a bonus you get a seat next to Andrew Ryan in hell. But why are we folding these splices in half by the hundreds and making snuff films of it? Well, to work that out, we need to go back 10 years in time to where the story starts. So let's take a look. As I mentioned, we play as a Big Daddy, but more specifically, we play as Subject Delta, one of the earliest models of the scariest bouncers in history. Unlike the newer gen ones we fight in Bioshock 1, these guys have a more human aesthetic. Well, maybe more phallic aesthetic. Just saying, if a Delta series stood behind two of the next gen models, YouTube might get a little bit anxious. Delta is just minding his own business when suddenly his little sister is attacked by some splicers.
You want some, big guy? Bigger than hard, harder than
For Delta, this is easily de-escalated till one of these guys pussies out and pulls out a hypnotized Big Daddy plasmid, putting us in a timeout. This is where we get introduced to our big bad of the game, Sophia Lamb, who gives off Andrew Ryan vibes almost instantly out of the gate.
There we are. He's perfectly safe now.
This is not your daughter. Do you understand? Her name is Eleanor, and she is mine.
Good job, girl. Sophia politely asked Delta to speedrun the bad ending of the game.
Now, kneel, please. Remove your helmet. Now, take the pistol. Place it against your head. Fire.
Now jump forward 10 years and Delta essentially naps out the Civil War and Jack's daddy issues from the first game. Delta wakes up and, well, Rapture has seen better days. After the Civil War, this is where things start to come crumbling down for the city. But we don't really care, we just want to find our little sister. So why did Sophia Lamb take our little sister? So we're going to jump the gun a bit. This is some information we find out later on, but basically you see Sophia Lamb was brought to Rapture by Ryan to help the population sort of adjust to living under the sea. And Sophia did this by giving them therapy, but unknown to Ryan, she was at the same time brainwashing these civilians into a sort of cult to eventually rise up and take Rapture from Ryan. Sounds quite similar to Frank Fontaine, right? You see, he just wanted to steal Rapture for fame and glory, and did this mostly in the shadows. Sophia was more political. She had open debates in public against Ryan to try and sway the population. So that means while Frank was trying to aggressively take control, Sophia was constantly fighting Ryan out in the open. In this sort of freeway power struggle for Rapture, you kind of feel bad for Ryan here, as this was the sort of thing he was hoping to get away from. Through audio logs, we find out that Andrew arrested Sophia Lamb, and while she was getting incarcerated, her daughter Eleanor Lamb was sent to one of Frank Fontaine's orphanages, which we know were used to do tests on little girls to turn them into little sisters. And that is in fact what happens to Eleanor. She is turned and bonded to one charming and devilishly good-looking Alpha Series daddy named Delta. Unfortunately, in the early days, the bonding was in fact permanent, which meant that the big daddy would be connected to the same little sister till either of them died. Which is why Sophia comes for us and shows us her I like to watch kink as we get intimate with a pistol. Anyway, now that we're caught up, Delta starts making his way through the luxury resort, and here I'd really like to take note of how hard this game goes on scenery. Ironically, Rapture has never looked so good. Some of the aesthetics here with the graffiti on the wall and the use of blue butterflies to show the cult's dominance in the area is amazing. And honestly, I think it makes Rapture look more lived in than Bioshock 1. We get our first plasmid and we see that Eleanor was the one that woke us up. We interact with our first hashtag not my little sister.
And Eleanor has missed you. Find her and you'll be all better.
She is then kidnapped by a terrifying, yet more agile Big Daddy? Turns out this is a new form of protector called a Big Sister. And no joke, these are the hardest fights in the game. Going toe-to-toe with them is rough. The first fight is kind of scripted and I almost died. Like my first death was almost 10 minutes into the game. After an intense fight, the big sister decides it's a little humid in here, so decides to open a window. Being essentially a walk and talk and submarine, we can handle a little walk outside though. These segments are solely just walking sims, not much happens here. But it does make Rapture feel way more, I hate to say it again, but lived in. This place feels real. Rather than going from one bathysphere to another like in Bioshock 1, going out and touching some grass really does add to the size of Rapture. And I love it. And we can even find some actual Adam out here. Anyway, we tiptoe through the tulips and get back on dry land, I guess. Sophia Lamb, once again, given those Andrew Ryan vibes, finds out we're awake and tries to give us an early bedtime again.
I know you. That symbol on your hand marks you a dead man. 10 years, Subject Delta, since I watched you put a gun to your head and pull the trigger. But take heart. Out of your pain, paradise was born. I don't know how you survived, but your suffering is over now. These men will ease your burden. Please understand that like all I have done, this is an act of love.
After that interaction, we meet Tenenbaum, who's decided to come back to Rapture after the first game because she heard that someone is making little sisters again. This is a bit part. She leaves immediately after you save her from some splicers, but it was a nice touch. It's good to see an old friendly face, even if she's still trying to make right the terrible things she did to these little girls. Tenenbaum encourages us to go meet Sinclair at Ryan Amusements, who gives off some Atlas vibes. I have my eye on you, Sinclair.
Well, look at you. A bona fide knight in armor, complete with iron horse. The name's Augustus Sinclair, sport, Esquire.
We jump on a monorail and unfortunately our progress gets halted by a random ass ice block. So Sinclair recommends us going to get the flame plasmid, but says we'll need the atom to do this, which means finding more #NotMyLittleSister. So the amusement park. This is an amazing first level. I was worried after the locations we had in Bioshock 1, the developers would not really have any new locations and it would just follow the same beats as the original, but the amusement park is so original and even has a fully length ride section, which provides more of our boy Andrew Ryan telling us why it's great to be in Rapture and why civilization is terrible up on the surface. And honestly, after looking at some of these visuals, you can't help but agree with the man.
On the surface, your parents sought a private life, using their great talents to provide for you. They learned to twist the lies of church and government, believing themselves masters of the system. But the parasites said, no, the child has a duty. He will go to war and die for the nation.
Before we move on, it would be best to pay our respects to Andrew Ryan. We fight our first Big Daddy and I adopt the little sister, do some gathering, and free the little sister. I'm a good guy, what can I say? Unfortunately, this really pisses off Sophia and the big sister. Now the big sisters, after you clear a level of all the little sisters, good or bad, she comes. And you have yourself a boss fight. Now these get intense. I consider myself a bit of a cool gamer dude. And I played on the hardest difficulty, and honestly, I was sweating in these fights. The big sister gets 2 hits, that's all she wrote. You really need to plan out your consumables, and honestly, where you have the fight in general. I brought her back to a room that had a turret that I had hacked, and I still struggled. With her defeated, you do get some good loot, some bonus atom, and we head forward with Sinclair. Unfortunately, we get stopped again at Palper's Drop because a person going by the name Grace Galloway has locked down the train, and only she has the override key. So we head through this maintenance facility turned slum-like area. We learn that Grace has a hatred towards Delta due to her being the person Eleanor was left with while Sophia was being arrested. And she blames us for Eleanor becoming a little sister. She even later on found us doing our usual patrol for Adam with Eleanor as a little sister and came over to inspect Eleanor. Delta broke her jaw for the privilege. I mean, you fuck around, you're gonna find out. Once we head through the area, get in the camera and the dash drill, which again, this thing, chef's kiss. We find Grace in her safe room. She gives up and says that we can take out our revenge on her like the monster we are.
I know what you're here for. Go on, take it. I won't have you touching me. Dr. Lamb trusted me to care for her child. And I tried. But baby Eleanor disappeared. And then one day, I see her walking with you, looking wrong. And when I tried to hold her, you knocked me down, broke my jaw. So I'm ready, baby snatcher. Come on in and finish the job.
Now here is where you get another choice in the game. The karma system's not just tied to the little sisters for the endings. You can straight up murder Grace and continue the story. But I mean, if you do that, you're kind of proving her right. Or you can take the keycard and leave, which I found very interesting as Grace slowly realizes that she was the one who was wrong and starts to realize she's way more accountable for her part in Eleanor's tragic story than she thought.
You had me under a gun, yet you just walk away? No monster alive turns the other cheek. No monster does that. A thinking man does that.
It's brilliant. And though I'm playing this game as a good boy, you do quickly realize that Grace isn't a monster. She was just misinformed. And let's be honest, that doesn't warrant a death sentence unless you are a monster. Moments like these are great storytelling. I absolutely loved this. I feel like Bioshock 1 was an amazing story, but it didn't quite have this depth between characters. And it's not audio logs. We met Grace. Grace is in the area with us. She's dealing with Rapture at the same time as we are. There's something more real about that. Anyway, we piece out the slums and we move on to Siren Alley, where we next meet Simon Wales.
Hear me, O ye who would murder the Lamb of God. Ye shall never reach her God.
Who, though has my favorite voice in the game, it has completely lost his mind. He thinks Sophia is the second coming of Christ or something. We deal with him quite quickly.
Pump control ought to be in the back. One thing though, once you transfer the suction to Dionysus Park, we've got a tiny window of opportunity to get you inside. I don't have much air left, but I'll hang in there. You make sure you're ready before you throw that switch.
And Sophia does her best Frank Fontaine impression.
Do you think me a tyrant, Delta? Vying for control of a dead man's dream? The city is nothing. Rapture must die so that Eleanor may rise from its body. Allow me to demonstrate.
Lamb's overloading the pumps. The place is coming down. Get to Dionysus Park.
We then get held up again by a new face, Stanley Pohl.
Okay, so dead men tell no tales, right? Wrong. See, with Adam involved, every stiff's got a story. And Lamb knows how to read it. If that stuff makes it back to her, I'm an obituary. So, I want you to take the story of Dionysus Park and bury it. Get rid of the little sisters for me. Your way. Do that, and I'll unlock the station here. Scout's honor.
Being a little sussy bucker there, Stanley. Unbeknownst to him, Eleanor gives us the power to see the memories in the Atom. And with each little sister saved, we see that Stanley not only drowned everyone in this park, but did it because it was his fault Eleanor got taken to the orphanage and became a little sister. And he's been trying to hide this information for years from Lamb.
That's me there. I confronted Stanley. Said I'd tell Mother what he had done. He panicked. Took me away and sold me to an orphanage. I tried to fight back. I remember biting his hand, but... Father, he's the reason I was turned into a little sister.
Stanley, you can't just kill a whole group of people and get away with it. Did you really think you could kill off an entire group of people and sell off the daughter to a politician and no one would ask questions? Think, Stanley. Stanley does give us some pretty important information on ourselves, actually, before we done the whole identifying as a big daddy thing. Turns out we just stumbled onto Rapture as an outsider, and once gaining entrance to the city, Andrew Ryan did what Andrew Ryan does and accused us of being in KGB or CIA. Jesus, man, have you ever been right about this? You even accused your own son last game for the same thing. Anyway, he arrests and puts Johnny Topside, our nickname from the people in Rapture, into the Big Daddy program, where through insane torture, we become the Big Boy Delta. Turns out Sophia Lamb knew all of this and opens the door for Delta to go take some revenge on Stanley. Now this is another choice and I found this a lot harder than Grace. There isn't really anything good about Stanley and what he's done, and he is kind of the ground zero for all the bad shit that's happened to Delta and Eleanor. And I mean, his Karen doesn't help either, right? Like this just screams, I'm a bad dude. But honestly, because Sophia really wants us to do him in, I decided to spare him. Just to clarify, it's not because I think Stanley could be forgiven or that what Stanley did wasn't bad. I just really enjoy fucking with Sophia. We finally, after 5 million holdups, make it to our original destination, Fontaine Futuristics, where we meet Gilbert Alexander, who turns out willingly agreed to be experimented on with Adam to help Sophia make the perfect utopia/utopian, I guess.
October 9th, 1967. Hello. My name is Gilbert Alexander, and by the time you hear this, I will be clinically insane. I am recording these diaries in advance as a last-ditch effort to assist anyone I might threaten in dealing with me. My next message awaits you beyond the security checkpoint. The bioscan will ensure that you're sane enough to need it.
Alexander was loyal, but he knew the process would likely drive him insane. So he left voice recordings asking whoever turns up to kill off his crazy counterpart. Like very Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. His crazy counterpart, though, trying to fuck with us at every turn, is kind of fun to listen to, and he gives us a bit of a family reunion with some Alpha Series Big Daddies. These are pretty cool fights. Unfortunately, at this point, I'm so decked out on Adam, I'm practically Frank Fontaine at the end of Bioshock. With this being one of Frank Fontaine's many corporations, we get to hear a lot about his story before Bioshock 1. One of my favorite tapes here is actually in his office, where he goes on about how he wants to take out Andrew Ryan, like he always does, but kind of shows his transformation and him kind of like testing out his accent for who we know as Atlas from the first game.
Every time Ryan turns up the heat, I know I'm a little bit closer to beating him at his own game. But now the game's changing. Ryan's boys are coming in heavy, looking to knock down my door and take what's mine. Like this is the first time I had to dodge a bullet. They're coming to my house expecting a show, but they're gonna get a disappearing act. Say goodbye to Fontaine, and hello to Atlas.
We head deep down into the facility and we find Alexander's crazy half. And here comes your choice yet again. Once you have the key to move on, you can either honor old Alexander's wishes to kill off his crazy counterpart, or you can listen to the crazy Alexander who's pleading for his life. I decided to kill our crazy Alexander, as not only was he a dick to me the entire level, it felt more like a mercy killing, like Alexander originally wanted us to do.
You don't have to kill me, Delta. I'm sorry. Oh, please. I will go outside. I will live outside.
actually opened up a lot of thoughts myself. For example, like if I hit my head so bad that I lose all my memories and essentially became a different person, that person I become wouldn't want to be killed off. That's a life. The old me already died. And I do kind of think that here, the old Alexander pleading to be killed off if he loses his mind, that Alexander died many years ago. And essentially here, we're killing an innocent, well, not really an innocent. This guy was killing guys left, right, and center. This is a bad dude. But does that mean we should kill him off? It's a tough one. I decided to kill him off because he was a dick. I went with the complete, he was a dick this entire level and fuck this guy. But I do love the choice here. There's so many layers. And it makes you think a bit more on the same level as Grace. You could go either way. Games that do karma systems like this and do them right are absolutely incredible for storytelling. It really makes you think about your own moral compass. This is such a good end of a level. We take Axe's key and we save the last little sister of the game and head on to Persephone. Dude, why do I struggle with these area names so bad? To finally meet up with Eleanor and Sophia. We arrive and instantly get thrown into a fight with two big sisters. You're coming off a little bit desperate here, Sophia. Which is a tough fight, but essentially we were right, as her last plan was to make Eleanor's heart stop, essentially killing her to kill off Delta and sever their connection. Like as we said before, these old big daddies can't live without the little sister they're bonded to. Without them, they just turn off.
Your signal breaks. I don't see or hear a thing.
Look at her, Delta. 10 years, and still she dreams of you.
50 seconds remaining.
Do you know why Eleanor brought you here? She wanted a father. So she found a way to restore you in body and mind. And she has been watching you ever since, exalting your every act as gospel. The girl lying on that bed is no longer my child, nor my life's work. She is a monster, shaped by you alone. Just as she has always wanted.
20 seconds remaining.
But there is one detail of your mutual bond she failed to account for. Your body was designed to lapse into a coma when her heart ceases to beat. Eleanor, forgive me.
Luckily, this isn't an instant process, and Sophia has to lock Delta up so he can slowly curl up and die. But Eleanor wants to change the narrative, and is understandably pissed at her mother trying to move like that. Rapture family dinners will never be the same again. Eleanor gives Delta control of her little sister, and this is probably the coolest bit of lore we will ever get. So why are the little sisters so chipper all the time, and happy to go about their day vaccinating the dead in this hellhole? Well, that's not what they see. They essentially see Rapture how I assume Ryan sees Rapture. Not riddled with damp mold, but clean, golden. Everything has this otherworldly, heavenly vibe. Even the blood is shown by rose petals. And what makes this hit so hard is the occasional glimpses we get back to reality. Oh, and big daddies are essentially heroes in golden armor, so I get why the little sisters seem safe with them. Anyway, Eleanor's fit is mid, and we get her a dope-ass big sister cosplay. Now here is where we start to see our choices throughout the game start to take effect.
Now, I will do the same for all the others, starting with this one. We've done it, Father. I'll be there soon. These suits always did make me think of you, Father. I guess I still remember you in shining armor. But now it's my turn to fight for you.
Oh yeah, it wasn't to benefit us or guide us. It wasn't about keeping Delta on the right or wrong path. It was to show Eleanor, who this whole time has been watching through us and seeing the decisions we make. She wants to follow in our footsteps. So if you are a bad guy or a bit of a dick, Eleanor becomes a bit of a dick and will harvest the little sister. Seems that we were pretty good. She does what we do and saves the little sister. This is great. Again, this is such a good twist on the narrative. You don't see this coming. You assume the choices you're making will likely give you the good boy or bad boy ending. But no, you get to see the effect in real time. You sort of stew in your choices you've made on the journey. A-star work. These devs, my god. My only criticism would be not having more choices throughout the story. Anyway, you remember Sinclair, right? I haven't mentioned him much, but he's been with us on the entire journey, mostly in the back, probably at the bar on the train. He chimes in now and then with updates on the objective and gives us the occasional flavor text to our choices, but essentially he's just waiting for us to find our little sister so we can use his ship to vacate the premises. Well, unfortunately, Sophia got to him first and turned him into a big daddy.
Don't you recognize Sinclair, Delta? Now he is what you should have been. One final Alpha series, ready to die for the family. As Persephone's former owner, he is the ideal man to put you back in your cage.
Mother's controlling Sinclair, Father, and he's got the master key. Catch him!
Now, coming through the audio logs, this process takes months to achieve, and it's some insane torture. I don't know how she did this in a matter of minutes in this dump, but alright, whatever. She can just do that now. We give chase to Sinclair. Sophia is controlling him, and occasionally he does break through just to make us kind of feel bad.
Kid, I'm sorry. I've locked you in here. Lamb's making me dance on her goddamn strings. I can't stop. You're gonna have to break in here and put me down. Wish there was another way. But I'd rather die a man than live like this.
God, he's right, Father. Mother's betting you'll die in here, or that I'll abandon you before the bombs detonate. We can't save Sinclair now. We need that key from him. Find the code to the watchtower, or work out a way to draw him out.
He begs us to kill him and take his ship and get the fuck out of this place. And that's what we do. And it hurts, man. This, again, into the feels folder. When I first played this game, I was so ready for him to betray us. I thought, you know what? I don't care that Sinclair's kind of charismatic and he's helping us out. He is a bad guy and I'm ready for it. And I think that's what they intend. You go the whole game kind of not giving him the benefit of the doubt. And then he does this massive sacrifice for us. It hurts, man. We goodnight sweet Prince Sinclair and free all the little sisters to help us boil away the water so we can get to Sinclair's ship.
I'll wake the children up. They're stronger than they know. With their help, I should be able to boil off the water and get us all out of here. Go on ahead, Father. I'll free them as quickly as I can, just as you showed me.
we have our last stand. After surviving a few waves, we run to the ship where Sophia's bombs go off. Seriously, you're literally a couple of feet away. This could have backfired so easily, oh my god. And that's all she wrote.
And then, Father, the rapture dream was over. You taught me that evil is just a word. Under the skin, it's simple pain. For you, mercy was victory. You sacrificed, you endured, and when given the chance, you forgave. Always. Mother believed this world was irredeemable, but she was wrong, Father. We are Utopia, you and I, and in forgiving, we left the door open for her. The rapture dream is over, but in waking, I am reborn. This world is not ready for me, yet here I am. It would be so easy to misjudge them. You are my conscience, Father, and I need you to guide me. You will always be with me now, Father. Your memories, your drives. And when I need you, you'll be there on my shoulder, whispering. If Utopia is not a place, but a people, then we must choose carefully, for the world is about to change. And in our story, Rapture was just the beginning.
So Eleanor is safe, and she then absorbs Delta to become sort of like a moral compass for her. Or, if you play it bad, she absorbs Delta to take his Adam, and likely becomes an overpowered killing monster on the surface. Again, I love this direction, because once Sophia cuts off Delta from Eleanor, our fate was sealed. We were going to die regardless what we do. The game is all about Eleanor and how our decisions impact other people, and how easy it is to sway someone else, not as mature as us, on the right or wrong path. It's genius. I have to say it again, but Bioshock 2 is the superior title in my eyes. The gameplay is nothing but improved. We get more of Andrew and Frank via set pieces and audio logs, even though they are out of the picture. Sophia Lamb is a great villain to hate, and the karma choices have so much more weight and thought behind them this time. It's just perfect. Now this is where I would call the end of the video, but we're not done yet. 7 months later, Bioshock 2 Minerva's Den came out, the first bit of DLC. So let's dive into that. Minerva's Den is a standalone DLC that doesn't really conflict with the narrative of the base game. You play as a new reactivated Alpha Series daddy called Sigma Male. and are requested by Charles Milton Porter to go find a big computer that's practically the only thing keeping Rapture running at this point, to get a copy of its code and sort of veto to the surface. Unfortunately, there has to be a big bad, and that's Reed Wall. I think that's how it's pronounced. Anyway, he does his best Sophia Lamb impression.
Subject Sigma is approaching Minerva's den. He must not reach the Thinker. Detonate the tunnel!
Jesus Christ. It's like you guys don't understand that you're trapped at the bottom of the ocean. Anyway, we're a big daddy, so we shrug it off like it's nothing and we head on in. The DLC gameplay is pretty much the same as the original game, with only one new weapon and one new plasmid to play around with. Those being the ion laser weapon that shoots a beam of light, and the gravity well plasmid that just generally fucks anything not nailed down. The plasmid is great fun against waves of enemies, but if you're playing with sentry bots, just avoid using it. It team kills far too often. That said, the upgrades do give it an acid after effect and make the well a kind of trap for the Adam harvest sections, which is pretty useful. I use this quite a lot. Weapon upgrades are no longer bought, you find them. And once you make it to your first Gatherer's Garden, you can literally just buy any plasmids you want. So yeah, instantly on that beekeeping life again. I'm not sure if it was my copy or the fact that I'm running the game on PC, but the low quality textures was a big issue in this DLC, not something I dealt with very much in the base game. It didn't ruin the experience, but it's just something that happened enough that I need to comment on it. The set pieces as well do start to blend together for me. There's a workshop, a staging area, a more futuristic appliances area. They're nice, but most of the DLC just feels like these rooms and in a bunch of corridors. I get it's a DLC, it's budget and time constrained, but after how refreshing the main game was, I was just hoping for a bit more. We start heading to the supercomputer called the Thinker, with Reed constantly trying to hinder us at every turn, spouting on about how the supercomputer has already told him how this will end, and it's all-knowing and we can't help but lose to him. I mean, it would sit better if, while he's saying this shit, his splicers were not dying one by one to the same turret I hacked.
Do what you will with the girls. Twist your body with Adam. The Thinker's perfect equation accounts for all possibilities.
Adam is hiding.
To have gone with my data?
If the Thinker is that smart, surely this would not be happening. As we progress, we learn through audio tapes that Porter, the guy who's pushing us to go get this code from the supercomputer, was trying to replicate a consciousness in the computer. Of some guy, I actually forgot his name. But that doesn't matter because Porter had ulterior motives. He wanted to use this technology to bring his wife back, who tragically died during the London Blitz, which kind of sent Porter off the deep end, leading him to find Andrew Ryan and head to Rapture like most people do. No one chooses to go to Rapture because it sounds cool. Most of them are kind of depressed. I guess you have to be to live under the sea. He uses old recordings of his now permanent British citizen wife to test out the Thinker's duplicating programming. This works a little too well and our boy Porter doesn't like it.
I believe I'm done feeding audio recordings and personal anecdotes to the Thinker. I am set to test the personality duplication function. Target personality, Pearl Porter. Thinker, are you ready?
Yes, Milton.
Starting test. Hello, Pearl.
Hello, Milton.
How have you been?
Just wonderful, Milton. I've missed you, though. It's been so long.
Pearl, No, this isn't right. It isn't her. Thinker, stop the test.
But what's the matter, Milton?
Oh, God.
Don't you still love me?
Oh, God, I said end function, Thinker. Now! It's over.
While Porter was using the Thinker to do this more selfish and personal project, Reed wanted to use the computer to create a prediction algorithm to essentially tell the future. This caused the two scientists to butt heads quite a lot. At the same time, Tenenbaum is trying to find a cure for the splicers or anyone affected with Adam. She managed to make a cure for the little sisters, but apparently anything above the age of 6 is just not possible right now. Eventually, Reed gets fed up of Porter and makes a fake audio recording of him swearing allegiance to Sophia Lamb. Now, we know Porter, he would not do this. He was very anti-Sophia Lamb. But we also know Andrew Ryan doesn't take kindly to betrayal, especially when it's not actually true. This leads to Porter getting incarcerated, but before he goes in, he tells the Thinker to find a way out of this sunken city by any means necessary. Get the fuck out. Dip boy, dip.
Well, Thinker, Ryan's secret police are on their way. They cooked up some kind of evidence against me. Treason, they say. I've heard what happens to folks who get disappeared, come back as one of those metal daddies. So, I'm leaving you with something to cogitate on in my absence. Inputting Rapture Departure Protocol. Figure a way to get yourself out of this city, Thinker. You've got to live on, no matter what happens to me. You'll find a way.
Sigma finally makes it face to face with Reed, and after getting pretty overwhelmed by 4 Alpha Series Big Daddies, this is an intense fight. We go head to head with him. I'm just gonna be honest, the gravity well makes this boss fight a joke. We kill Reed and activate the copy and programming, but the Thinker needs to confirm the person making the request first, which after scanning Sigma confirms we are in fact
Mainframe reactivated. Confirming user's genetic identity. Genetic identity confirmed. Alpha Series. Subject Sigma. Former identity. Charles Milton Porter.
Welcome back, Milton.
System ending personality duplication. Subject Charles Milton Porter.
You see now why I let the machine speak for you, Mr. Porter. We needed a voice that would be familiar, comforting, your own. With that copy of the Thinker's programming, we may return to the surface and use it to restore you to the man you once were. Please, collect the printout and meet me at your bathysphere dock. Take your time, Mr. Porter. I will be waiting.
You see, after being arrested by Andrew, Porter was put through the Big Daddy experiment because that's, I guess they don't have jail cells. You just, I don't know, you don't pay your taxes in Rapture and you become a Big Daddy. The Thinker decided to wake up Porter as a Big Daddy and use Porter's own voice to guide him here to save the Thinker. Porter said do it by any means. I don't think he was quite planned to be the one to do it, but pretty cool. Thank God we weren't binded to a little sister, or this would have been an issue. I have to really give it to Irrational Games here, because not only was the base game twist so great and not expected compared to the first game, but even the twist in the DLC is utter gold. I think it's better than the base game. Hearing the tale of Porter and how depressing his life had been after Pearl dying, and then find out that the great big splicer killer machine we're playing is him without his memories or voice, it's just so fucking sad, and I love it so much. God. We take a slow walk through Porter's office and see a shrine to his dead wife and find out that Porter was actually quite established. He once rubbed shoulders with my boy, Winston Churchill. Anyway, we exit stage left of Rapture with Tenenbaum because, I mean, why not, right? She's just there most of the time. Cool. Hi. Where they go or what they do on the surface isn't really brought up, but apparently Tenenbaum was able to fix Porter and turn him back into a dude. Cool. I don't see how she was able to do this on the surface. Rapture was so ahead of its time. If she couldn't do it down there, I don't see how she did it up here. There are a few novels to Bioshock. I haven't read them myself. I do want to. Maybe that dives into a bit more, but I'm just going based off the game. I don't know, maybe he took his Flintstone vitamin. And that's it. That's all she wrote for the DLC. Oh boy, what a game. It's 10-hour playtime, 15 if you include Minerva's Den. It's great from start to finish, and though I would always recommend playing the first for story reasons, Bioshock 2 is a far superior title. and is one of my top 5 games I've ever played and will ever play, most likely. This video has been a lot longer than I'm used to doing. I'm sorry if I bored you. This is like legit long form content. I've never done stuff like this before. I thought 20 minutes was a lot, but it's been great playing through this game again with a fresh set of eyes. It was such a great experience, and I'm so happy to share it with you guys. If you've made it this far in the video, honestly, thank you so much. YouTube algorithm will love that shit. I would like to know who's able to sit through me talking for what could be like, what, 40, 50 minutes. So just a little in-joke between you and I. If you made it this far, please, in the comment section, put hashtag Sigma is my daddy, just so I can see you real ones that have made it through the whole video. As usual, please like, subscribe if you haven't already, and I will see you in the next video. Thank you so much, and have a great day. Bye.